Hey everyone, this is Nikki, and I'm about to tell you the most satisfying revenge story of my life. You know those moments when you're so done with someone that you just snap? Well, this is mine, and trust me, it was worth every single second. So picture this, I'm 28, working as a marketing coordinator at this mid-sized tech company called Innovate Tech. I'd been there for 3 years, busting my ass, working late nights, weekends, you name it. I genuinely loved what I did, creating campaigns, managing social media, organizing events. I was good at it too, like really good. Our engagement rates were through the roof, and I'd landed us some major clients. My boss, let's call him Derek, was this 45-year-old sleazeball who thought he was God's gift to the business world. You know the type: expensive suits, flashy watch, drives a BMW, and talks about synergy and leveraging opportunities every 5 minutes. He was married to this sweet woman named Linda who would sometimes come to company events with their 2 kids. But here's the thing about Derek, he was a complete fraud. While Linda was at home taking care of their children, Derek was playing house with not 1, but 3 different women. I'm talking full-blown affairs, people. There was Jessica from accounting, who he'd take on business trips that were really just weekend getaways. Then there was Maria, a client rep from one of our partner companies, who he'd wine and dine at fancy restaurants while claiming it was relationship building. And don't even get me started on Samantha, the 23-year-old intern who he'd keep working late with him in his office. I found out about all this completely by accident. See, part of my job was managing Derek's calendar and booking his travel. I started noticing patterns: hotel rooms booked for 2 when he was supposedly traveling alone, dinner reservations at romantic restaurants during client meetings, and credit card receipts that just didn't add up. The final straw was when I accidentally opened his personal email instead of the company one. They were right next to each other in his bookmarks, and boom, there they were. Love letters, explicit photos, plans to meet up. It was like a bad reality TV show, except this was real life, and Linda had no idea. I felt sick to my stomach. Linda was such a genuine person, always asking about my family, bringing homemade cookies to office parties, and bragging about Derek to anyone who would listen. Meanwhile, her husband was out there making a mockery of their marriage. Now, I want to be clear here, I didn't go looking for this information. I wasn't trying to be some kind of office detective. But once I knew, I couldn't unknow it, you know? It was eating me alive. I started dropping hints to Derek, like, "Oh, Linda called looking for you while you were at that client dinner," just to see his reaction. He'd get all nervous and start stammering about how the meeting ran late. For months, I kept this secret, and it was killing me. I'd see Linda at company events, and she'd be so proud, talking about how hard Derek worked, how devoted he was to the company. I wanted to scream. But Derek? He started getting paranoid. I think he suspected I knew something because I couldn't hide my disgust around him anymore. He began treating me like garbage, questioning every decision I made, undermining me in meetings, giving me impossible deadlines, and basically making my life a living hell. The breaking point came during our annual company retreat. Derek had been drinking, a lot, and he cornered me at the hotel bar. He started getting handsy, telling me how pretty I was, how we should grab a drink in his room. When I firmly told him no and tried to walk away, he grabbed my arm and said, "You know, Nikki, I've been thinking your position might be redundant. It would be a shame if you had to look for a new job in this economy." I was furious. This piece of trash was threatening my livelihood because I wouldn't sleep with him? Oh hell no. 2 weeks later, Derek called me into his office. He had this smug look on his face as he slid a termination letter across his desk. "We're restructuring," he said with this fake sympathetic tone. "Your position is being eliminated. We'll need you to clean out your desk and return all company property by the end of the day." I sat there, staring at that letter, and something inside me just snapped. 3 years of hard work, excellent performance reviews, and this is how it ends? Because I wouldn't play along with his games? "I understand," I said calmly. "I'll need to gather all my work files and company materials." "Of course," Derek said, already turning back to his computer like I was dismissed. "Make sure you return everything that belongs to the company." That's when I smiled. Everything that belongs to the company. Got it. See, here's where Derek made his biggest mistake. In his rush to get rid of me, he forgot some very important details about my job. As the marketing coordinator, I had access to everything. Social media accounts, email lists, vendor contacts, company credit cards for marketing expenses, and most importantly, I was the only one who knew the passwords to about 90% of our digital marketing platforms. I spent the next 4 hours methodically going through every single thing in my office. Derek had told me to take everything that was mine, so I did. The expensive coffee machine I'd bought for the break room with my own money? Mine. The professional camera equipment I'd purchased for company events using my personal Amazon account because it was faster than going through procurement? Also mine. The decorative plants that I'd brought from home to liven up the office? You bet those were coming with me. But here's where it gets really good. Among the things I had access to was our company's promotional merchandise. We're talking boxes and boxes of high-end swag custom North Face jackets, premium backpacks, branded tech accessories, wireless headphones, tablet cases, portable chargers. This wasn't cheap stuff. Derek had insisted on the most expensive promotional items because he wanted to project success. Each item was worth anywhere from $50 to $300, and we had thousands of pieces. Now, technically, I was supposed to hand over the keys to the marketing storage room. But Derek had been so eager to get me out of there that he never specifically asked for them. He just said to return company property, and my keys weren't company property, they were given to me to do my job. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I loaded up my car with about $10,000 worth of company swag and drove straight to the homeless shelter downtown. You should have seen the faces of the volunteers when I walked in with boxes of brand new winter coats, backpacks, and tech accessories. We're cleaning out our inventory, I told them, which wasn't technically a lie. I want to make sure these go to people who really need them. The shelter coordinator was practically in tears. These are exactly what we need for the winter months, she said. People are going to be so grateful. I felt amazing. For the first time in months, I felt like I was doing something good, something meaningful. These beautiful, expensive items that Derek had ordered to stroke his ego were now going to people who actually needed them. But I wasn't done. Oh no, not by a long shot. Remember those affairs I mentioned? Well, I still had screenshots of everything. And I mean everything. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, lovey-dovey text messages, photos that definitely weren't appropriate for a married man to be taking. I spent the weekend organizing everything into a neat little folder. I printed out emails, organized photos by date, and created a timeline of Derek's extracurricular activities. I even included copies of the expense reports where he'd been using company money to fund his affairs. On Monday morning, I drove to Derek's house. Linda was in the front yard, working in her garden, wearing a company t-shirt, probably one that Derek had brought home. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. Nikki, what a surprise. Derek mentioned you were leaving the company. I hope it's for something exciting. My heart broke for her. She was so sweet, so trusting. Actually, Linda, I have something I need to give you. It's about Derek. I handed her the folder. I think you deserve to know the truth about what your husband has been doing. Linda's face went from confused to concerned to absolutely devastated as she flipped through the pages. I watched her world crumble in real time, and I felt terrible for her, but I also felt relieved. Finally, someone was telling her the truth. I'm so sorry, I said. I know this is awful, but I couldn't live with myself knowing what I knew and not telling you. Linda looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. I had suspicions, but I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. This explains so much. I left Linda to process everything and drove home. I figured Derek would figure out what happened soon enough, but I didn't care. I felt lighter than I had in months. Sure enough, my phone started blowing up around lunchtime. First, it was Derek, screaming about the missing merchandise. Then it was HR, trying to figure out what had happened. Then it was Derek again, this time about Linda filing for divorce. You have no idea what you've done, he said in one particularly nasty voicemail. You've destroyed a family. You've ruined everything. I called him back once, and only once. Derek, I said calmly, I didn't destroy your family. You did. I just made sure your wife knew about it. The aftermath was beautiful. Linda took Derek to the cleaners in the divorce. She got the house, custody of the kids, and a hefty alimony payment. Derek had to move into a crappy apartment across town. Meanwhile, back at Innovate Tech, things started falling apart without me there. Nobody knew the passwords to the social media accounts. The company's Instagram and Twitter went dark for 2 weeks. Their email marketing campaigns stopped because no one could access the platform. The website crashed, and guess who was the only one who knew how to fix it? They tried to contact me, offering to pay me as a consultant to help them get back on track. I told them my consulting rate was $500 per hour with a minimum of 20 hours. They said that was outrageous. I said that was the price of burning bridges. Derek got fired 3 months later. Turns out, once people started digging into his expense reports and travel receipts, they found a lot more than just personal affairs. He'd been using company money for all sorts of personal expenses. The new management decided he was a liability they couldn't afford. The best part? Jessica from accounting, one of Derek's side pieces, threw him completely under the bus to save her own job. She provided HR with detailed information about their relationship and how Derek had been pressuring her to falsify expense reports. So much for love, right? As for me, I landed a job at a competitor company 2 weeks later, with a 40% raise and the title of marketing manager. My new boss had heard about what happened at Innovate Tech and was impressed by my initiative. Anyone who can single-handedly shut down a company's entire digital presence clearly knows what they're doing, he said during my interview. The homeless shelter sent me a thank you card with photos of people wearing the donated coats and using the backpacks. One photo showed a veteran with a tablet case, using it to store his important documents. Another showed a young woman with the wireless headphones, smiling as she listened to music. That card is framed on my desk at my new job. Derek tried to sue me for theft, but his lawyer told him he didn't have a case. I had taken items that were either mine or had been donated with proper authorization. Plus, given his own legal troubles with the divorce and the company investigation, he didn't exactly have the moral high ground. Linda and I actually became friends. She thanked me again and again for having the courage to tell her the truth. She's doing great now, she went back to school, got her real estate license, and is absolutely thriving. Her kids are happy and healthy, and she's in a much better place emotionally. The funniest part of this whole story? About 6 months later, I ran into Derek at a coffee shop. He looked terrible, disheveled, tired, like he'd aged 10 years. He saw me and just stared for a moment. "You know," he said finally, "I never meant for things to go this far." I looked at him and smiled. "Derek, you told me to take everything that was mine. I did exactly what you asked." He walked away without another word. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did. The answer is absolutely not. Derek was a liar, a cheater, and a bully who thought he could destroy my career because I wouldn't play his games. He underestimated me, and that was his mistake. I exposed his affairs because Linda deserved to know the truth. I donated the company swag because it was going to people who actually needed it instead of sitting in a storage room collecting dust. And I made sure Derek faced consequences for his actions, which was long overdue. The moral of the story? Be careful who you mess with. You never know what they might know about you, and you definitely don't want to find out what they're capable of when they're pushed too far. Derek learned that lesson the hard way, and honestly, I'm not sorry about it at all. Thanks for listening to my story, everyone. Remember, sometimes the best revenge is just giving people exactly what they deserve. And if you're dealing with a toxic boss or workplace situation, document everything and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. You never know when that information might come in handy. Trust me, the satisfaction of watching karma do its work is absolutely priceless.